Hello and welcome back, live from Jönköping in Sweden, and I'm Lydia Humbach.
I'm Connor Hayward, and we have a big matchup coming up.
It's busted.
I don't think I've ever seen it happen, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither.
So
we have, who do we have?
So
on the left side, we have...
So in the left corner, we have Martin Pedersen.
Magnus Pedersen.
Who won the seniors this year in the World Championship. And who's on the other side, Lydia?
On the other side, we have a world champion from last World Championships as well in Masters Division, but I can't quite remember. Who was it?
That was Philip, right?
Yeah, it was Philip. Yeah.
No, it's Robin Schulz, ladies and gentlemen, one of the Limitless players. So we have two, not just former world champions.
We have two current world champions in the Pokemon trading card game facing each other in round 4 live in Jönköping, Sweden.
This is a rare event that we're about to see.
It is.
And it gets better. Not only are they two current world champions, they're basically playing a 60 card, well, very close to a 60 card mirror from what I can see having a quick look over their lists. Oh no, saying that, now I look more closely, there's a few different counts. No.
But they play a fairly similar build.
Yeah, now I'm looking at it, it's close enough. But they're playing a mirror. Sorry, sometimes handwriting can be hard to read.
Yes.
But it's going to be a Zap Beasts mirror, basically. A very skill-intensive deck, and we know that these two players are definitely players who have the ability to play it at that level to be able to get there.
I mean, they've both obviously proven their level of skills. So we see the prize cards. We see Beast Energy on Magnus' side.
And we're away.
Yeah.
So if we can now go to the main game, we can see Buzzwole versus Jirachi in the actives.
Jirachi.
Robin's going to... straight away, Robin's got a nice quick start. He's got the escape board, double Jirachi, so he can search his deck for a load of cards. Has
no
a
need
Cynthia.
to hide what you've got, right?
Yeah, he's just going to be throwing all the cards out and just going, right, let's just get set up, because this is a matchup which is very dependent on getting that first KO. As soon as you get the first KO, and kind of you have to chain them. As soon as you whiff a single turn, it's probably too late. And it is all about being as consistent as possible. So Magnus starting the Buzzwole's not ideal for him.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a problem because he now has to find extra ways of kind of retreating things, and we'll be fine. So we now see...
We see Stella wish for a nest ball, and we see the nest ball being played, probably going for a Zapdos.
Yep, get one of your attackers in play. He could also opt to go for some of his tech options here, so he has the Blitzel line.
Oh, he's going for an Absol.
Because he knows that the Zapdos is very easy to set up for him next turn with the hand he's currently got.
Yeah, very true.
So both of these players are experienced, to say the least. Magnus has actually already made a top since aging up this year, which is historically has always been that kind of hurdle for seniors players.
Yes.
Kind of going between the two, aging up from seniors is seen as quite a big step up, and he did very well at the Bristol Regional Championships.
Which was only recent.
Well, this is the thing, is that, and I think it might well have been with Zap Beasts. I can't remember, but if it was, then it shows that it's a deck he's comfortable with. Robin also very comfortable with the deck. I know he's been playing this and loves playing it.
Oh yes.
As far as I can tell, most of this conversation between the Limitless players is about various versions of Zapdos and like the very clever plays you can make with it. Another nest ball for Robin, making sure he gets everything he needs. Getting the Blitzel now so he can evolve next turn, so he can start sprinting through that deck.
Yeah, I mean that's an essential part of the draw engine, especially if all the Limitless players and also a lot of the higher skilled players or like higher CP level players, let's put it like that, used to play Zoroark during the last season or the last format. So you're kind of used to having some kind of draw engine in your deck.
Well, the reason why these decks reach such a high skill cap is as soon as you have all these options, you wind up getting to kind of more decision making.
Yep.
And for some people, when you get into the game, the best thing you can do to kind of beat certain players is make them make decisions, because it's only the real top of the crop that can consistently make the right decision. And the more decisions you sometimes make, the more likely you are to make an incorrect one.
Yeah.
And me playing Zap Beasts, I make a lot of mistakes.
These guys, 100% relate.
Like, but these guys, I imagine this is going to be a pretty close to perfect game on both sides.
But this is also a lot about practice. You can practice making the right decision. At one point you have made the decision already, or you may have even made a similar decision multiple times. So that makes it way easier for you because you don't need to think about it, you don't need to consider which options are best, you just know it.
Yep, that switch into the Jirachi yielding a Lily for Magnus is a fantastic result for him. His hand
It's his first turn, right?
Yeah, was looking a little bit full. Also has an Ultra Ball to get himself set up, and it looks like he might be able, depending on what he draws from this Lily, he's going to be quite aggressive with the draw. I think might be able to find a way of taking a KO on the first turn.
Yeah, he had an Electro Power in his hand, but
he doesn't
need it.
No, he doesn't need it. He just needs to find a way of switching this Jirachi back out. But he has another switch in hand. Yep.
We see Lily probably trying to find the escape board first.
Yeah, would prefer an escape board so he doesn't have to use the second switch straight away.
But it doesn't seem like he was able to find it.
Oh, but he does have the energy, so he does get options for the knockout. He's playing 3 copies of Switch, so having to resort to the second this early is not the end of the world.
Yes, it is. And we see the Switch, just like assumed. And there is the first knockout of the game. But will this be the win?
Yep.
We don't know.
Taking a quick look at both players' prizes, there's nothing particularly valuable in there for either of them. The Beast Energy for Magnus could be good, but the Beast Engine, the Beast Synergy in this deck is not as important.
Yes.
When you can just chain the Zapdoses, and it's only really for like turns 4 and right at the end of the game with Nihiligo where they're even worth looking at. It does help smooth out the turns where you have to keep looking for parts though, so may come up.
Yeah, and we see a Lily being put out of the deck by Stellar Wish. Still also not in your first turn. It's still a very good card. But let's see if Robin is even using it. He also has a Guzma, but
Thins his hand down. Deck is very good at doing that, going from the large hand sides down to the small. A lot of the cards are, if not quite instant play, for full value. You can still get kind of some value out of them as you go. This would allow him now to hit the 110 he requires to KO the Zapdos. And in he goes. Both players playing at quite a good pace.
Yeah, those Zapdos matches, they go back and forth all the time. And actually, they kind of decide by who misses the KO first.
Yep.
It sounds very easy, but it's not.
Actually, so that's actually a kind of now I think about it, this Beast Energy. If Magnus does take it off as his next prize card, is actually really good because he then goes into 4 prize cards the next turn. Beast Energy, Sledgehammer KOs everything currently.
Robin is playing a copy of Nihilego.
Yep.
So he might do some fancy action.
He's a few turns away from being able to do much with Nihilego, though, right?
But I mean, Robin is a very skilled player.
Yeah.
He can play around that.
Yep.
He can play around that Sledgehammer turn.
And the Volkner.
If he really wants to.
So we see that. So Robin's actually not playing the fighting energy. He's just playing the lightning, the rainbows, and the beasts. Magnus is actually opting to play for the basic fighting as well. Sometimes that 10 damage can be a really big deal, especially on a Buzzwole. When you have to attack with it, the reason why it was so powerful last season is it had 10 HP more than it needed to be. The target number was 120 last season, just a little bit more, and sometimes that can come back to bite you. It's just both of these players. It's like, yeah, no, I've got it. Don't worry.
And
it's another knockout.
The Zapdos going down, so
Magnus
is down to 4 prizes, so it's Robin's Sledgehammer turn.
Yep. Robin would need to find the Beast Energy to respond.
There's the Beast Energy. Do
we
see the Buzzwole?
Well, you can't take it this
one. Oh yeah, true. I completely missed that. I'm sorry.
So he would have the option to go into that if he can draw into it. But the problem is, Jirachi gets you trainers, but not Pokemon or energy.
We see a Shrine of Punishment, though. Probably just thinning out his deck.
Yeah, that's being discarded.
Thinning out his deck.
Yeah, that is being thrown right away.
I mean, he can also play it. It doesn't hurt anybody. And it also stops Magnus from playing his Shrine of Punishment, which he also wants to get rid of.
So, coming in now, the Shrine of Punishment is probably going to be... Is there an Ultra Ball in hand? I assume there's an Ultra Ball in hand that he wants to get rid of. We do see Robin also has the Guzma, which means that he can do many Stellar Wishes at the same time.
So we see the second Stellar Wish.
Yeah, if he can find a way of getting to the Buzzwole and taking the K on the Buzzwole, he'd probably prefer to do that.
So he might be thinning out his hand now and then hoping to draw into Buzzwole, Nest Ball, Ultra Ball. There are lots of options. Actually, he might also be playing. No, he's
Well,
not
so
playing
a big issue for him
communication.
now is that he's gone through 2 Zapdos. And the other one is prized. So he has no Zapdos to use it for a KO this turn, so it's going to... Oh, no, did he get a
Yes,
stretcher? I
Zapdos.
must have missed it.
Yeah, he had a stretcher in hand.
Yeah. So...
Does he has a lightning energy in hand, though? Oh, yes. No,
Yeah.
it's his discard. That
He needs to find a way of...
That's his discard.
A couple of damage modifiers to take this KO. He's just trying to consider if it's... Yeah, worth just using it now. He can also retreat. He has no attachment in hand, other than the rainbow, which he doesn't really need to take right now. That Tapu Koko Prism Star is one of the most important parts of a lot of
We
these.
see Electropower now, so there's the damage modifier you've just talked about, and we see another Thunderous Assault.
And
Shrine of Punishment being played first.
I mean, there's
It
no
doesn't
harm in
hurt
playing
anybody.
It doesn't help anybody, but it does get out of the deck so that if your opponent does hit you with something like a Marshadow, which Magnus is actually playing, at least you're not going to redraw it. It's getting rid of one of the dead cards in this kind of matchup, where you're just going to be throwing single prize attackers back and forth.
It's so different from the match I've just casted. It's not about these big tag team jigs. It's all about those small hitters, and that's also why this deck is still viable, why it's still good, even though we had the kind of change with Reshiram tag team jigs and stuff.
So we also see the Zip Striker in play for Robin, so he can now start kind of drawing through. So it's like less likely that he misses any point, but he is going to need to find some attackers. If Magnus misses his turn this time, he's going to probably this is looking like a Sledgehammer, right?
Yeah, I mean, he needs to go for Sledgehammer.
But the way that he's taken the prize cards, it won't be with Beast Energy, which means it's not a KO. So,
We
Viridian.
Yeah.
Both players probably quite happy to see it. Means that they can basically never whiff the energy anymore.
We see Rescue Stretcher, and Magnus is deciding to shuffle back some Pokemon.
I mean, the problem with these games is you run out of attackers because you need to take 6 prize cards, so does your opponent, but you have basically your main attacker you play 3 copies of, and at some point you're going to go, oh, they're all in the discard, hang on. It's why these copies of Rescue Stretcher are so important, trying to get value from them. Both players playing 2 because you're just going to need them.
Yeah, and at some point you also need to decide for the other option, not to shuffle up to 3 Pokemon back, but to take 1 Pokemon directly from your discard pile to your bench.
Yeah, and it's like having the option. There we saw Magnus went, actually I'll shuffle more in and an S-Ball to get effectively the same thing, but gets more attackers long term.
And we see him discarding some Choice Band for the Viridian Forest, which of course makes sense. It's a card you just want to get rid of in that matchup because you can't really use it. So it's Robin's turn again. We see him...
And it's gone.
Ah.
Well, his Zebbra's gone.
Oh yeah, sorry, it was still Magnus' turn.
Yep.
We saw Guzma
so Sledgehammer
KO on the Substrike.
Yep. Which is frustrating because for Robin that was a large part of his, like he committed a few resources to get it set up and basically never got to use it.
And also his Sledgehammer chance is gone.
Yeah.
This doesn't really look good for Robin, and he really needs to take a KO, otherwise he's going to run into Sledgehammer again.
Yeah. This is one of those make or break turns for the deck because you have to basically he has to find multiple damage modifiers. So he needs double Electropower to be able to take the KO on the Buzzwole, or he has to find a way of taking a KO on something on the bench at least, just so he can keep getting out of just avoid Sledgehammer hitting him again and again.
Yeah, what he needs now is a Guzma so he can go for a Jirachi.
I think he has a Guzma in hand, so he can guarantee himself a KO.
Oh, we see another Nest Ball. I wonder what you would be searching for now. Looks like there's only the Nihilego left in his deck. You don't really need the Buzzwole now anyway, so there's the Nihilego on your bench. That's not where you want it to be. But sometimes that's how you make it happen, how you need to make it happen.
Yeah, the Nihilego, the Nightcap attack. When you use this attack, and they have only 2, which which Robin knows there's no way for Magnus not to get into, you get to copy something, and that can be a very useful thing. It basically gives you extra ways of hitting things. Also weakness on things like Buzzwole. That means that you don't need a damage modifier then for the Thunderous Assault if you became active that turn. And both players racing through resources.
I mean, that's what this deck does. You play a lot of item cards that instantly add some damage up. So we see another Shrine of Punishment being played. Just
so this here is kind of it's about making the Shrine of Punishment, like, so normally Viridian Forest is symmetrical, right? It has the same effect for both players.
Yeah.
But if you then get to like your opponent plays it, uses it, you get to use it and then kick it, it's effectively they've given you a free search for an energy card. So this kind of makes it like an asymmetric effect in that sense. So we do see Rainbow ready for next turn.
There's the Guzma.
Just gonna send that Jirachi to the discard pile. Another knockout. Both players down to 3 prizes. Really kind of lively pace of play, I think is the way we'd say this, that neither player is hanging around. It's just like draw. I think both players know that this deck is one of those ones where you spend a lot of time shuffling.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's no point kind of looking at your hand for like 20 minutes going, think while you shuffle.
And we see Stellar Wish going for an Electric Power. It was the only item card Magnus found.
But it's a big find because
it is.
It means now I'm not entirely sure what Robin's, he has a Guzma in hand, but it kind of like if he can take the KO on the Zapdos, or even if he can get to the Nihilego. I don't know if he has the Guzma.
But Magnus is missing an energy. He has a Beast energy, but that doesn't really help him at the moment.
Another Jirachi. Are we going to try and chain some of these Stellar Wishes? The fact that you get to do this multiple times per turn is a very strong.
Does he even has a way to retreat the Jirachi? It doesn't really look like it. We see a rescue stretcher, the second one, so that must be.
That looks very much like okay, right, you're going to get down to 2 prize cards, and I got to be prepared. I think he's just going to have to pass. Yep. Okay, and this is it. So this is what this deck, this matchup is all about.
This is the game-changing turn, actually, because now Robin could take the lead.
Yep. Even though Magnus got to take the first knockout, that one turn where he just missed something and going, oh, well, the Jirachi's still asleep, is a huge deal because now...
And we see a switch. Jirachi, Stellar wishing.
Yep.
What is he wishing for?
I mean... I can see his next 2 prize cards. Basically, he wants to make sure he has a guaranteed way of taking the last one.
I mean, he might
the escape rope is really nice here,
KO the Nihilego before it gets dangerous.
Yeah, there's an option here to kind of do escape rope plays, because the escape rope with the Nihilego means that he probably takes a KO with the Nihilego in some way, shape, or form.
True.
But especially with Guzma, it means he can always take out the most valuable thing on the board.
Is he Volkner?
The Volkner is also really strong because it means that, the stretcher means he can't run out of the Zapdos. What he's going to do here, I suspect, is rush in, is retreat. Zapdos, take the KO. The Zapdos, clearly Magnus doesn't have anything in hand from the last turn, so he's kind of safe to go, right, I have a turn now where I can take the KO on the Jirachi. I just need to set up how I take the last 2. There's one fairly obvious one, in that as soon as Magnus takes a prize, then Nihilego comes in. He just wants to make sure he has outs to get a Guzma or a switch card so he can take out something that's left over. Yeah,
so are you going for another Zapdos straight away, or would you shuffle back something?
Well, he might, he has the time now, right?
Yeah, true.
And it also means then that...
Yeah, he's going for the Zapdos straight away, attaches the energy.
Well,
he just took... I mean, he had another energy in hand.
Yeah, so it's a big thing because this deck normally only ever has... Because especially in this matchup, because you attach, retreat, attack, take a KO, and then it happens back. You only ever actually have one attacker at a time.
Yep.
Robin now has 3 set up. So that even if Magnus takes a KO here, which he probably will if he can find an energy, he needs to basically... he's just reading Absol to see if that attack's enough. Robin's managed to find a way where he doesn't have anything on the board that's worth copying, effectively, for the Nightcap.
We see the Beast energy on Nihilego, though. So, he's copying Absol's attack with Nightcap, and that's enough for the KO. Yeah. So now Robin somehow needs to get rid of that Nihilego.
Well, now he can just use his own because it has weakness.
Oh, yeah, true.
And he can just copy the Zapdos and just kind of go, right, cool, next one. And the thing is that now it becomes a game of, okay, right, so like on the Sledgehammer turn, you have to deal with, you have to take a prize that turn, otherwise you just get knocked out again and again and again. It's exactly the same. That Electro Power is huge. Because this means that he can take the KO with the Nihilego basically anywhere, and as long as he keeps the Zapdos alive next turn, he has Electro Power for the final thing. As long, well, I think
final thing.
He'll probably Guzma. I think he has the Guzma in hand. If he had the Guzma,
he could also just retreat.
Pick up the Buzzwole because that's the only thing he can't knock out with only one damage modifier. So he has to make sure he kind of gets value out of his modifiers at every turn.
But if he goes for the Buzzwole, Magnus will probably take another knockout with the Nihilego next turn. So I don't know if that's the best option.
So it's try to have a quick look at Robin's hand from once he's got it fanned out for this Ultra Ball. He is playing the Pheromosa from Buzzwole Tag Team GX, able to hit enormous numbers, but also the spread damage from just the Jet Punch on it is an extremely valuable resource because it means that then it just reduces your almost over reliance on damage modifiers to actually get to these numbers.
And this also explains why Robin is playing the Rainbow Energy and not just the basic fighting energy, because the Buzzwole Pheromosa Tag Team GX needs grass energies.
Yeah. I don't know how often you get to use any of the other attacks, but it's still nice to have it as an option.
Yeah.
Again, it's just the fact that Robin has attachments ahead here, which means that he can afford to effectively waste the attachment to the Absol, knowing it's fine, I'm just going to retreat this in a minute.
Now we see the Nihilego with Nightcap copying Buzzwole's attack, and that's enough.
Copying Swing Around and swinging that Nihilego straight into the discard pile. And we know Robin has the Guzma. Magnus doesn't.
Robin is down to 1 prize now. Magnus somehow needs to make sure that he is able to survive the turn, but
can't see many ways that that's going to happen because plays some cards down. I'm guessing he's going to try and draw to hit something, but with Robin's access to Guzma, he can just Guzma out the Jirachi that will probably end up on the bench.
Is Magnus playing a Judge? No, he's
not.
not.
He's only playing 1 copy of the Marshadow, but he's going to have to Lily to find that copy of the Marshadow, which always sucks because you'd rather be doing that the other way around. Just to even... Oh, he does find it.
Oh. I'm sure we're going to see it.
His deck's not that big. But he has to make the decision of, would he rather draw more cards and trying to kind of keep up in this game, or does he think he needs to kind of disrupt? Does he suspect Robin has it? This is one of those things where actually hand tracking becomes a really big thing because you have to reveal the card you take from the Jirachi. If you have a it's very hard as a caster when did they take this card sort of thing because we're watching, but when you're playing, following the exact card someone draws on which turn and going have they used that yet is very difficult. And this is where the whole hand shuffle comes in. That's a really big thing because if they're hand shuffling, you can't tell if it was the one they drew that turn or not. But you do kind of have to go, well, have I seen them take something from this Stellar Wish that I know I have to get rid of?
Yep. Very true. It's also interesting that Magnus decided to use Stellar Wish before Marshadow's let loose. But
I think he was...
he's preparing for the Tapu Koko GX turn anyways, and now we see let loose.
Yep. I will point out, Robin does currently have 3 different Jirachis in play, so he has a few ways of getting to this Guzma, should he need to.
That's true, that's very true.
As we see Tapu Koko GX using the Aero Trail ability to pull the energy around from around the bench onto it, rushing straight into the active position. The 130 damage being a very big factor here, and it's fine to use it at this stage of the game, of course, because he's only got Robin only has 1 prize card remaining, so it being worth 2 is actually good because you've effectively he just top takes it. I mean that's how you become world champion, right? That's how you do it. Is you just go, oh, that's a Guzma.
But this game, it came exactly down to what we've just said. It comes down to who takes the first prize card or who is not able to keep drawing prize cards first.
And you could see that Robin kind of got a board state there where he was very comfortably,
Yeah.
like a turn or two ahead, effectively, in terms of like Magnus. Every turn was going right. I need to find this, which then means that he doesn't have a chance to try and disrupt Robin. Robin was just like, I'm fine. Like, I can take a turn to do a slightly suboptimal line if it means you can't win.
Yeah.
So it's a very kind of slightly luck dependent, right? Because you do need to find those things.
I mean, those decks compared to Zorak or compared to the fire decks, they don't really have that. They feel like they have less of a draw engine. They have Substriker, but it still feels.
Well, it's because the resources at every
weak
turn,
compared to that.
right? Like
You need those damage multipliers when you need them. You need the energies when you need them. You need Buzzwole when your opponent is down to 4 prices. You need Nihilego when your opponent is down to 2 prices. Then there's the Beast energy. You can't always use it, so.
Yeah, the order of which you see your cards is far more important than other decks. It's not to say it's inconsistent by any stretch. It's probably one of the most. It's like the most consistent deck in the format, as far as I'm concerned, right now. Or it's very much up there. Maybe Reshizard can beat it if you have like very thick supporter lines in that sense. But
and we see the price cards.
the Guzma and the Escape Ropes are a bit of a pain. But
a Shrine of Punishment is perfectly fine where it
yeah,
is. Robin
and it's 3 of his energy, so he's only playing 10. So that's less than ideal. Finding the energy out is going to be a bit more difficult.
Is.
And we also see
Beast energy again.
Yeah, that's Beast Energy's spending a lot more time in the prize cards than Magnus probably wants it to.
Also, Buzzwole is in the prize cards.
Oh, look, it's the same as last game.
But it's his last prize. How many Buzzwole is he playing? He's playing 2, so.
2.
He will still be able to search that out.
He'll be fine. We just heard that the other matchup that we nearly put on stream was Jesper Eriksson versus Nico Alabas, and we've just been told that Jesper won.
Yeah.
So that was a game. So, if anything, we're going to get more of a game out of this because that must have been super quick.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah.
But instead,
we nearly showed Nico Alabas versus Jesper Eriksson.
Yeah.
There was some kind of miscommunication between us and the Hive. So the Hive announced a different match, but we really wanted to show these 2 world champions facing each other. So we took the embarrassment and re-announced the second match.
That was a big Lily, basically a 4 hands worth, and Magnus nearly threw the switch away. You don't really want to do that. You need those cards in these matchups.
Yeah, you need to hold on to them because you really need them later in the game when you rely on those
and
stellar
just pass.
wishes.
He knows by passing here, he's not throwing a lot of resources down. By not playing the Jirachi, it looks bizarre, but he knows like if Robin can find then Robin's easiest knockout is if he plays the Jirachi, it gets stuck.
Yep.
Robin just retreats into it and KOs. Or if he puts it on the bench, he can just Guzma KO it, and Robin's then taken the early thing. So I kind of like the idea of not playing the Jirachi there. He had no way of using it that turn because he just lilied. He couldn't use his Guzma.
And Jirachi is such an easy prize, as you've just said.
So Ultra Ball, Absol, because by being able to stick things like Jirachi and Zapdos in the active position, you can kind of force your opponent to miss a turn by making them need a little bit extra. And while these decks are very good at finding resources every turn, it becomes a certain point where you'd rather not have to, and you'd rather just pick stuff up.
Big Lily from Robin.
That was 7, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think it was 6. But
might have been.
However, Big Lily and his benches compared to Magnus one, much more elaborated.
Yeah. I don't know if he has it much in the way of options this turn.
And another nest ball. Oh my god.
Yeah, but I don't think I saw him get any. He has no energy in hand right now.
Well, we can work on that.
And he's not playing the Viridian Forest that Magnus is playing, so that means he can't actually just Stellar Wish into the Viridian for an energy. That's one way that Jirachi effectively becomes your energy out as well as trainers. So that's not an option here for Robin.
Yeah, that might be the effect of all those energies in his prize cards.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Robin has played 3 nest balls so far. Or I think 2 nest balls, 1 ultra ball. But he for sure knows what's in his prizes.
Yeah. So grabbing the electro power, might as well grab it ahead of time. Because he knows he's going to need it eventually, because he will need to use damage modifiers to keep taking the KOs.
It also doesn't hurt taking it.
And passes back. So unlike last game where both players were basically set up and ready to go and just started trading back and forth, we're now kind of seeing a slightly slower, more deliberate setup from both decks, kind of slowly kind of inching out the advantages as opposed to just rushing straight for getting attacks going.
Oh, and now we see the Jirachi being placed, being benched, directly getting an escape board to skate with.
Yeah, and I think that's so. This is what we can see by
Interesting.
by holding the resources. He's able to do it. So this plays in this is an interesting line, in the sense that normally you'd promote the Jirachi because you're like, well, I want to see more cards. It's like, well, look, I'm gonna have enough outs off this Cynthia that I should see an energy, and I need to take that first prize card. Going first in this matchup means that yes, okay, you get a little bit more setup, but Magnus is not playing anything that requires evolution to be able to set up. So really, it's only Robin who benefits from having a turn to set up.
But we saw a switch, so he could have easily switched into Jirachi and retreated later with the escape board.
Yeah, that feels somewhat...
I personally don't like that play.
Yeah. He does hit the Viridian Forest anyway, so... And
also getting rid of a Shrine of Punishment, which is very good. You don't need that card. I can't say it often enough, so that's a very easy discard here.
Yep. I mean, he effectively could have been a card further into his deck, but this way he gets to take the knockout anyway. That Viridian Forest getting a lot of value in these games.
Yeah.
He does have an Electro Power already in hand as well because he's going to want it at some point. Just double checking cards in hand, seeing he wants to go for a Marshadow.
But he knows that Robin did not draw an energy.
Yeah, I think here it's tempting because your opponent has a big hand. But you also saw that your opponent lilied, took an Electro Power, and then had nothing.
Yeah.
So it seems somewhat likely that it's not the most live of hands. But he goes for it anyway.
We still see in Marshadow, I mean, it makes sense.
So
the more bad cards you have on your hand, the higher the chance that you actually draw into something good. So logically and mathematically, it's still the right thing to play.
But it's also here a thing of he knows his hand is not... He's probably going, well, look, my hand doesn't have that many options in the next few turns, so I need to start getting into things. So the escape rope here is really nice.
The energy
Nest
as
Ball.
Ball.
That's actually a really nice draw.
It is indeed. And we see the Nest Ball already. We don't see the Nest Ball already.
Yeah,
we see the Nest Ball already.
One of those things that I think is very easy to do when you're on stream is you get a little bit nervous and excited. We did see Magnus drop the switch earlier on as well. It might well be that he's I mean, he's a world champion. He's been on streams before.
Yeah. But not that often. I mean, seniors don't get featured very much, so he's not as used to it as Robin probably is.
But we eventually see the Thunderous Assault for the knockout.
Yeah.
And
over
that's
to Robin. The first knockout, so that's huge. But also looks like... Oh, of course, he didn't promote Jirachi because of Absol.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forget that's a card. So, another switch for Robin. We already know he has an Electro Power. And he does have an energy now after... Well, no, he doesn't have the Electro Power. He did, but then he got hit by the... I think he drew it anyway. I mean, sometimes you have to question.
Yeah.
If luck is just on, just drawing, just casually getting, drawing 4 cards, and they're all the cards you need.
Sometimes that's just how it is, especially with a deck like Zapdos.
So it's another Stellar Wish. Both players just going back and forth.
Commentating over Zapdos just feels so weird because you say the same things over and over
again. It's a deck so this is the thing, though, is it's a deck with a very clear game plan.
Yes.
Which means it's something that has been very much refined, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a good deck right now, is whilst... other decks are still, the Reshizard decks are still being worked on. Wheezing, the Quagsire, the Pika Rom, they're all kind of still working out exactly where to go. And this just feels like they've found a 60 that's this is the perfect 60. Or players feel that they've all reached that point. So
I mean, this deck has already been around for longer, so of course lists are much more tested out and figured out and understood as well.
So yeah, that's one of the Guzma for Magnus gone. But he does take another one off his prizes, so he still has access to 3 more.
So Magnus is down to 4 prizes. What does that mean, Connor?
Well, it would mean that it should be a Sledgehammer turn. But if you look at
But
Robin's board,
yeah.
it's too full.
Yeah, it's full.
He
He
can.
just benched Jirachi.
It's fine. He can because he can just discard the Coco if he really needs to. Attaching energies using the Coco's ability. But I don't know if he actually has any energy in discard to use.
Yeah, also his
that with.
hand doesn't really look like he's
Got anything?
able to
No.
get it.
It does look a little bit stuck.
He also doesn't look happy. I mean, Robin's face is usually not telling a lot, but that's his sad face.
I was going to say he like a lot of the top players are very not expressive
Yes.
unless you know them quite well, and after a while you just kind of go, oh, that's his I whiffed face. The Stellar Wish, I think I saw a Guzma, so he can at least kind of take a knockout.
He
but
could Guzma the Marshadow or the Jirachi, which makes
yeah,
a
you
bit
go
more
for the Jirachi
sense.
with the board here.
So I think that's what we're probably going to see. I mean, he needs to catch up the pace. He needs to at least not fall far more behind.
Yeah.
So
you can see both players are also spending a lot of time checking each other's discard piles because they only have so many electric power. So Guzma and Switch, and after game one, which went quite long, in terms of like they went fairly deep in their decks, both players probably have a rough idea of counts. So it's a very important thing that you can go back and forth and just double check how many they've used because that can really make a big difference. Here Magnus is on his Sledgehammer turn, has a Guzma and a fighting energy, so I think we're going to see that Absol disappear. Makes it a lot easier.
He might really want to get rid of that.
Getting rid of that Absol really clears the way for him for the next couple of turns to kind of keep using the Stellar Wish ability.
We see an escape board. We still see the escape rope being played. So now Robin needs to decide which Pokemon he wants to put into the active spot, and he decides for a Jirachi. We see Buzzwole being promoted, fighting energy, and a Lily for 5 new cards.
Here he could have Stellar Wished first again.
No, I mean still there's the Absol in play.
Still use the ability.
Oh yeah.
You just can't retreat it. And then could have Guzma, but he knew that he was going to Lily anyway, so he effectively drew all of the cards he would have looked at if he'd done it in that order.
So I think we might
be a
see
Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer now.
Yeah.
This is Sledgehammer on the Jirachi.
Yep. So for Sledgehammer for 120 damage because Robin has 4 prize cards remaining.
I mean, Magnus might also want to save some time. He's behind 1 game.
Sure.
He might not want to make unnecessary plays.
Sure.
Maybe that's the reason.
So Viridian Forest is going right. Don't want the shrine. I think we've established now. Don't need this. So grabbing another lightning energy from the deck. But here Robin needs at least 2 damage mods.
Yes.
And a way to retreat his Jirachi to take out this Buzzwole. But he needs to take a prize more importantly, just so it doesn't just sit there going Sledgehammer.
And there are 0 damage mods.
Yeah, there's
another shrine though.
Well, here he could play the second one if he wants to. He has a Guzma, so he can at least take a prize card. He can take out probably the Jirachi with the skateboard.
Yep.
But it's not great. He takes the shrine. He might be deciding that this is a good opportunity to kick the Viridian Forest.
Yep, very true. I mean, he has used it, and he's denying Magnus another chance to use it. So that's probably a good thing to do. We see another Zapdos with an energy. We see Guzma for these Zapdos.
So obviously the Thunder. Oh, he does have it. Okay, so so only the 1 damage modifier, because obviously the Thunder Assault does not hit for weakness.
Yep.
Otherwise, Zapdos mirrors would be awfully quick.
Yep,
They'd
very
just
true.
be like feathers flying everywhere.
Interestingly, he decided to not kick the Viridian Forest, so he might want to use it later on again.
I think I think he knows that one of his plans could be to go for the Tapu Koko GX.
Yep.
Is he playing that? Yeah.
Yep.
Like that's probably a consideration for him, and he also will know that he doesn't have many energy in his deck, which means that he has to keep finding them.
Yeah, that's true.
So
At
at least
that
he can
point,
guarantee
he must know that all his energy, all the price cards that were in the other way around. All the energies that were in his prize cards are still there.
Yeah.
He hasn't drawn them out of the prize cards yet. So
But that's actually quite good for him because he now knows for sure that his next prize is energy.
Yeah.
Which
True.
just means that like he knows that's one piece of the puzzle he doesn't need to find every single turn.
Yeah.
So that can change how he plays. As Magnus sets up another Stellar Wish. Guzma, there's an Electro Power. The Jirachi's putting in a lot of work, helping kind of build the puzzle, finding the pieces as you go.
We see Guzma being chosen from Stellar Wish. What would you, Guzma? Do you think it's now time to KO the Absol? Is he able to KO the Absol?
No.
He has no Electro Power, right?
No, so he's just going to have to keep trying to take prizes. So this is the thing, is weirdly, Robin's board, if he can evolve his Blitzel, becomes actually quite hard to take KOs on.
Yeah, because he has no small Jirachis now, and for every other KO, Magnus needs a damage modifier.
Yep. So that Dark Ambition ability from Absol has put in a lot of work this game, kind of making Magnus's kind of board state a little bit more fiddly to play around with without the basically undoing the benefit of the escape board on the Jirachi outside of being able to retreat whilst asleep.
So we see the Shrine of Punishment now being put away, and there comes the token.
Yeah, and this is exactly why he didn't kick that Viridian Forest last turn, so he could guarantee it, make sure he takes an energy card. And this is now 170 HP. If there is a way of KOing it, he does lose. But
I don't think there is one.
There's not many easy ways. I think Magnus has used too many Electro Powers to be able to reach that kind of number.
I actually don't think Robin would have done that if he would have known that there was a way.
Yeah, so we see one Electro Power, but I think Magnus might also be out of Zapdos. No, he's one in hand.
No, there's one in his hand.
So he has Guzma, second Electro
has
Power.
Electro Power.
So you can see him. You can see his mind whirring away about the maths here.
We see Guzma. No, he chose.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a Stellar Wish, choosing to take Guzma. I think he's asking to put something to take something else. Robin's saying, yeah, whatever. Taking the nest ball.
Taking a nest ball instead. Both players are like kind of
nest ball for probably Zapdos. Yep.
Needs something to attack with this turn. Putting it straight onto bench, and obviously the downside of it being nest ball and not Ultra Ball is he can't benefit from his own type of Coco, so he has to kind of find something that is just good straight away on the bench. And see it setting up, probably trying to Guzma. Is he going to Guzma?
The energy. I mean, he needs that. That's an easy decision. So,
Guzma,
Absol, Electro Power, KO.
Yep.
I think, that's what we are saying here.
Yep. And saying, right, you need to find a way of KOing on this, and me missing energy Zapdos basically next turn.
But Robin still is there. Robin still has his Tapu Koko powered up. It deals 130 damage already. That's enough to KO the Zapdos. And we see another sky high claw.
Yep, he's like, right, I don't think you can KO this. I don't see how you can take a KO on anything on my board.
Yeah, and actually...
Which is actually not true because of the Beast Energy in Magnus's hand. If he has that in Guzma, he can take out the Blitzel.
Yep.
He doesn't even need the Beast Energy, I don't think.
We see Lily, though.
Okay, so...
Oh, well, he takes it from his Stellar Wish.
Yeah.
We don't see it being played. Huh.
So...
We see another... Yeah, he's
he's
going
to dig for... Yeah.
Is there... There's Guzma, and... This will be... Yeah, Beast Energy.
Cool.
KO on Blitzel. Oh, that was a close match.
That was a really good game. But again, it shows like neither player missed a turn after that first turn, right? So basically, the fact that they missed the first kind of like whoever gets the first KO and doesn't miss, well, they win. As soon as you miss a turn of attacking, it's not so good. Neither player did once they both they both got attacking at the same time and started chaining the KOs. It was just neither of them missed, and then it is necessarily whoever does it first wins.
And again, it came down to who draw the right cards at the right moment.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it with all your Stellar Wishes. You can really dig for them. You can thin out your deck to lose the cards. You get rid of the cards you don't really need in the matchup. These are all very basic things. They apply to every deck, but it feels like with this very deck, it's like more important.
It is. But the thing is, it's also about learning when you need to use which resource to sequence it correctly. So you don't want to use a Guzma too early because you probably need it later on as they get their prize card set up for the final game. We do only have 6 minutes, so that was a very quick turnaround between games.
Yeah.
Double Jirachi prize for Robin, which means he's probably he's started another one. He's done it again. He's found another. The benefit of playing all four is you'll find ways of starting them. And he has the whole squad out. He doesn't know it yet, but the whole squad is not in the deck. That's Ultra Ball straight away. Going to try and find a Zapdos.
They've turned to turbo mode.
Yep, this is going to be a very quick back and forth Zapdos matchup now, I suspect. That was like a cursory glance through the deck. So what's prized? Nothing I need. Good. I'm going to get my Zapdos. I'm just going to start trying to smack you in the face with the Thunderous Assault over and over again. Energy.
Rainbow Energy Lily. Strong Lily.
Yep. The deck hadn't even hit the table, I don't think, between the cut. It's the speed that we're now going. One of my favourite things is that players have this thing of like the faster they throw the card onto the table, the faster they necessarily play.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make any difference. Like just flinging your card onto the table,
I
unless you
I
like
think
toward
it has to do something with the adrenaline and the energy, and you just want to slam it and be energetic
so
and
is
do
there
it
a
all
donk?
really fast.
Is there a donk available? No, there's a Marshadow at the very least in hand, so at least Magnus can play something, so he can go and get his cards. He's like, I want to touch this. Oh, but there's an Absol. There was Absols.
Seems like Magnus is not really in turbo mode, though.
No, but also his hand doesn't really coincide with turbo mode right now.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you just can't play turbo mode, even though you really want to.
Yeah, Nespal is the obvious pick there. Make sure he can go and get something on the bench to avoid just being retreat and KO'd by a Thunderous Assault from the Zapdos. It's just going to be a little bit more methodical. I think both players would prefer to win this one, obviously.
Yes, of course.
But
with 4-0-0 and only 7 rounds,
you're very comfortable on the way in.
Actually, what do you need for top 8?
For 7 rounds, I have no idea.
Yeah, me neither. But there's this website, and it has a calculator. I think it's called limitlesstcg.com.
There's a lot of good resources on that website, actually. As we see a Volkner. I think, yeah, we see the Volkner. That was a big, ooh, do I want to take it? that was a Volkner of, I just want energy. Just give me the energy.
No, I think he threw the Volkner away for Viridian Forest.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because he played the Lily already.
Yeah,
of course.
Switch. Smack. Prize.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, he took the Lily earlier.
Yeah,
he just hadn't played it
okay.
yet. Get a bit more set up. You can go get more attackers ready.
Yeah, Nest Ball probably for another Jirachi. Oh.
Yeah. Well, he knows that this is a game where you really do not want to be losing because you haven't got the resources.
But he wants to let loose.
Yep. Because he knows here by taking the KO on this Jirachi, Robin only has access to one let loose.
Yep.
To find a way of retreating and KOing this Zapdos, and also setting everything else up, which is not ideal.
Yep.
So both players shuffling up, making sure that, they're always correct shuffles, but they never have to rush. And see the knockout. Robin immediately jams his own Jirachi back into the active position. Throws that Nihilego away, knowing that really it's probably not too likely to reach that stage of the game. Getting down to 2 prize cards when it's like back and forth, with only a few minutes left is quite difficult.
Yep. And now we see another Stellar Wish.
Yeah.
And again, what are you wishing for in this moment? Probably for more time.
Yeah. Like for an extra 5 minutes. That'd be great.
Because for the Shrine of Punishment, it will probably directly hit the discard for an energy.
Yeah, that's probably just a get rid.
Oh, look at Robin's face.
Robin was like, really? Really?
He was like,
Don't want any of them. It's like when you used to play Max Elixir and managed to hit everything but an energy.
Yeah.
And then you then next card you draw, He's like, oh, there it is.
There's a switch.
Switch.
Electric
Power.
power.
One Zapdos
Boom.
down. Both players only, I think Robin tried to play turbo mode, then saw that Magnus was gonna kind of just keep his normal pace.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with keeping your normal pace. You don't have to speed up at this point. And has gone, oh, okay, in that case we can probably, it's unlikely we get through the 12 turns that it takes for one of us to win this game.
Yeah. I think that is what pretty much happened.
This would be the turboist of turbos.
And also, I mean, as we already mentioned, Magnus has just aged up, and playing in seniors is something else. Seniors don't really play in turbo mode. Playing in turbo mode also, it takes some practice.
Yeah.
Especially to make all these decisions that fast. You need some practice, you need some experience, and sometimes that sounds really wise, but sometimes that comes with age.
Yeah, you have to kind of look. It's a situational awareness as well as game awareness, as we see another stellar Ultra Ball from Magnus. It's like there's a lot of skills involved with kind of making sure everything works to plan and kind of mapping out turns and kind of going. At this point, I have to kind of go quick. Another Cynthia. Those are the regional promo ones, I believe, which are very nice.
They are. I actually like that all those promos they give out recently are just alternate art.
Yeah, I've still got my Guzma. I've still got my Guzma from Can.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah, I really like the cool Guzma.
But Ultra Ball, Buzzwole. So he has a way of taking a knockout next turn. Should Robin be able to KO?
And Robin is probably able to KO something next turn. But let's focus on this turn first.
Yeah. So Cynthia. Does he have a damage modifier?
I mean, he has the switch to retreat the Jirachi. That's
but I
the
don't see
one
an
piece of the puzzle.
I don't see an electro power either. So it means that Zapdos is just going to get hit into.
Yeah. I think that's what he has to do.
As he's just going to switch. And as time on the round is going to be called now.
Yeah, it's time.
And
Nick has just called time.
Yeah, it's actually quite hard to call time because they can't hear us.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. They are. Yeah, it's time.
So.
We are just clarifying it. I think there's a question on who's round one. Might just also be that they agree on the tie because obviously none of them can win.
There's not 10 turns left.
Yeah.
Unless someone somehow managed to deck out.
Yeah. And
they're just going to agree to tie it.
But what story could be nicer of two current world champions?
It's like the end of they have a series arc.
Yeah.
And they're like the nemesis of each other, and then the first time they face off, it's like a stalemate because the hero of the story still needs to train more. That's what we've got here, right? Is like we need more training for one of these two to overcome their nemesis.
It's really nice, and also it's really equal. Two world champions, 2 times the same deck, and this results into a tie. So
well, it goes to show, people can hold their own.
But if we're lucky, we might see them again tomorrow in top 8.
Yep.
Who knows?
And that'd
both
be very
are
interesting.
still at a very good point.
Yep.
They have 3 wins,
Yep.
1 tie,
Still unbeaten.
so everything's still open.
Yeah, still unbeaten. So we're going to go now for a quick break between rounds, and we will see you for round 5.
See you soon. Don't go anywhere.